One of the most unpopular rings in the game has actually become one of my most favorite rings to use, and in this video I'm going to talk about why and give you the rundown of what makes me bring this instead of anything else that you would expect. This video is going to be talking about and testing out and explaining why I really like the Vorkath's Soul Ring as my new best in slot, or maybe just favorite in slot, necromancy ring. I've been using it a lot lately, so let's talk about it. So the Vorkath Soul Ring needs level 75 necromancy to actually wear. Now you'll get this upgraded from the Vorkath ring, which you'll get for completing the Requiem for a Dragon quest. Once you've completed that, once you go to the Ungale ritual site, if you wear the ring, the Vorkath's one, while you do rituals, you have a chance for it to just randomly increase to the Vorkath Soul Ring. Now, the Ungale ritual site is a place that you'll know if you have done Requiem for a Dragon, so if you don't know about it, get the quest done and you will do. But the main reason you're going to use this is not because it's got really high necromancy bonuses, it's because, of course, the passive effect. The passive effect is pretty damn awesome in my opinion, and it has a few uses in combat and just before combat. So the way that the special attack reads is necromancy attacks will have a 5% chance to generate 1 residual soul stack with each hit, meaning every time you hit an enemy with a necromancy ability, bar a couple which we'll talk about in a second, you actually have a 5% chance to get yourself an extra soul. Now, of course, if you have Rasial's lantern, you will be able to have 5 soul stacks, and when you throw those in a volley, especially with split soul, this is huge damage. Now, things that are worth noting is that when you do use bloat, for example, only the first hit of this can have a chance at getting yourself an extra soul. Conjured spirits will not get you extra souls either. However, everything else can give you a chance at getting an extra soul. For example, every single time that your Death Skulls bounces back to a target, you have another chance at getting another soul. Every single soul that you throw at a boss will have its own chance at giving yourself another soul, meaning you can throw a volley and end up with multiple souls back in return. If you use this with Threads of Fate, you have a really high chance at getting quite a few of them in return. And of course, it means that if you use Soul Sap, there's a chance that instead of getting 1 soul, you'll get 2 souls instead. So of course, the more souls that you are going to be able to get, the more damage you're going to be able to deal, because when you throw a volley of souls out, it does a crap ton of damage. Now, before you go, this still isn't the best in slot ring, I'm aware that on paper, this is not the best in slot ring that you should be using, except bar maybe some places. However, most other places are going to require you or want you to take the Reaver's ring. But I'll be honest, I just really enjoy and like how the Soul Ring feels to use. It makes combat feel super rewarding and fun, and also it means that some fights you're going to be given a crap ton of souls and you are going to be able to get a crap ton of DPS off that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. It's also worth mentioning that, of course, with this, you don't necessarily need to be bringing a Grimoire. You could use the Equilibrium Aura, you could use like a Jazz Book instead, because if you were going for the crit build, then you probably would want to take the Berserker Ring, right? But of course, this isn't the only cool thing about the ring, and we are going to be testing it out of a few places and talking about how I felt like it performed at some bosses as well. However, the reason I came back across this ring was actually through no real decision of my own. I was recently doing a 100 kill video for Vorkath in hard mode, and I just looked up a online video on YouTube, of course, trying to find out a fast way of taking on Vorkath and seeing what I was doing different to the people who were getting stupidly fast kills. One of the guys that I saw taking on Vorkath that I tried to copy as much as I could, but minus like the macros and that sort of stuff, they were using a Vorkath's Soul Ring, and I looked at the comments and the description, and it was explained that they just felt like this was the best option to use here. So I quickly swapped over to copy their exact gear and put the Soul Ring on my preset, and I immediately noticed a couple of things. One, when you're getting your souls before a fight, you can actually save yourself a few seconds here and there. Maybe when I say few, it's like 10 seconds sometimes. Sometimes it's just literally one cooldown, but sometimes it's quite a few, because you can actually get all of your souls immediately if you get a bit of RNG. If you don't get them immediately, maybe you'll save yourself using 1 soul sap or something, which still is a decent amount of time when you consider the cooldown. So this was pretty nice and something that you guys could take advantage of by popping this on all of your necromancy presets anyway if you are going to be grabbing some souls. Pop this ring on, get your souls, and then swap back to the Berserker ring if you are are sticking with that one. However, during the Vorkath fight, I just did find that there was a lot more opportunities for me to be throwing out souls and dealing a crap ton more damage, and especially since I could use Threads of Fate to then bring in more souls and then volley it. Whenever you volleyed it, you ended up with almost all the souls again because of the extra minions and Zemmeregal getting hit by it too. So yeah, the soul ring worked super nice here. In fact, it probably could be best in slot here over anything else. While that doesn't mean it's likely best in slot for the whole of Necromancy, I wanted to test it out in a few other places, because after this, I was doing Necromancy on stream. While I was getting my souls ready to enter Kerapac hard mode, I put on my Zorga soul ring and then forgot to take it off for the entirety of a Kerapac hard mode kill. And I must admit, I got through the phases so much easier by using this, and I couldn't spend the rest of the time not talking about how good this ring felt to use here. It felt so damn good, and in Kerapac hard mode, it is now on my preset the only ring that I have here. The Zerka ring is just gone in the bank. It's gonna collect dust now unless I'm using like magic, I guess. So after using it at Kerapac hard mode for the rest of the stream and realizing that I actually really enjoyed using it here, this is where this video kind of spawned from. I've kind of given you the rundown of the information, but I'm going to talk about now a few of the bosses where I tried it out to see how it felt and give you my thoughts and opinions on how it performs there too. So the first place that I tested this out was actually Rasial. There was a reason for this, and that was because all the places that I had used this so far, the fights were decently long. Kerapac hard mode is fairly long with its 4 phases, and then of course Vorkath isn't the shortest of fights for people who are actually getting into the boss. It can last a decent amount of time, and there's a few different phases as well. Rasial, on the other hand, is quite a short fight, and I kind of figured that it would probably be a difference between how long fights are drawn out to whether this thing feels good or not. Because it made sense to me that the longer you're in a fight, the more chances of souls you had, so the better off it was going to feel. But I quickly noticed during Rasial that there's a big reason why I kind of really like this soul ring. Performance-wise, it's not that far off of a Berserker ring, right? It's not going to give you exactly the amount of DPS as or every single time because you're playing on random chance. But what I really like is the fact that when you're going through your living death rotation, you can actually just purely focus on that using your basic attack to get your necrosis stacks, using your finger of death, and of course making sure you get off your 3 death schools, while also ending that whole rotation with a good chance of having 4, maybe even 5 of your actual residual souls to throw in a volley, which is a big amount of damage that you wouldn't normally have, because usually you would have thrown those souls out before you use your living death, or you use it like at some point during it or whatever, and then you don't really want to be pressing the soul sap ability during your living death rotation, because of the fact that when you use your basic attack, you're getting necrosis, and you want to use finger of death as much as you can because it has a buffed amount of damage during living death. So you can still get those resources while actually just using your other basics and your death schools and everything else like that. So ending the actual living death rotation with the ability to just throw a full max volley at the boss feels really nice. Now this doesn't happen every time, so it's not as consistent, but when it does, and it's not like rare as hell, it happens pretty often, it feels really good, and it can definitely save you a few seconds here and there at the Rasial for sure. So this boss, I do like it. However, I don't think it's like outperforming the Berserker ring, but I do think that it is definitely an option if you don't want to be using a Grimoire, for example, and you also just don't have the money for a Berserker ring. You can bring this one instead. Maybe you just like me and you prefer the playstyle, because I'll be using this here instead of the Berserker ring from now on. The next place that I took this to was Rexi, and I went here again because it's a different sort of style that I wanted to try it out with, because it offers different things than other bosses in the game. And that is because I can consistently skip Rexi's pool phase here by using Necromancy. It's like an every time kill, it's never really going to go wrong. I mean, once every now and again it does, but not very often. So I wanted to see how consistent or how well this sort of felt with doing that as well. Now, actually here at Rexi, I failed consistently at getting the skip, and I genuinely was just like, it's me, it's got to be me, there's no way it's not, because there's not that big of a difference. So I swapped back to the Grimoire and the Berserker's ring instead of using my Jazz and my Soul ring, and immediately went back to skipping. So I put my Grimoire on, left the Soul Ring on instead of the Berserker one, and continued to fail for the next like 5 to 10 kills. Now the kill you're watching in the background, I did actually finally manage to do this, but for those of you that know Rexi, you'll know that I was about 1 tick, maybe 2, off of actually getting the heal for Rexi before phasing here. Yeah, it was very close and very inconsistent. Now this likely could be a skill issue because of the way that I was doing it with this, maybe. But considering changing my ring and changing the Grimoire was enough for me to actually get through the kills very easily, it's kind of big. And what I take away from this is I was getting super close every single time, probably about 1k to 2k damage off, and then Rexi would heal. And I feel like that's the difference between 1 critical hit, probably, every single time, very likely. And when you think about it, the way this kind of plays out here is you need to throw a mass amount of burst damage all in one go here. You're only going to volley once, really, because you're not going to have time to really, like, return all of those souls back, so it doesn't really make much difference. But getting an extra crit because you're using that extra ring really does make a difference, and the chance that you're actually going to receive 1 critical hit from the bonus of the ring in that whole time of going from 400k to 200k damage is probably pretty decent. There's a chance that that ring is probably going to make the difference between 1 crit, which could be the difference between 2k damage. Now again, this could be a skill issue, and it probably is a skill issue, but for me personally, I went from consistently skipping with the Berserker's ring to not really skipping that often with the Soul Ring. So what I would do here is, I mean, I would probably bring a ring switch. I would use the ring when I'm doing the skip and then go back to the Soul Ring afterwards, because I just like the way the Soul Ring works. So for me in future, I now have both of the rings on this preset, and I will be swapping to the Berserker ring before I do the last phase where I'm going to do the skip, and then I'll swap back to the Soul Ring when I phase through. Now, I tested the ring at a few other places as well. I went to Zamorak, and I went to the Sanctum of Rebirth and places like that. And I do prefer using the Soul Ring at all of these places. At Zamorak, it was nice having more souls for when I wanted to go phasing through all the different pads and stuff. And at the Sanctum of Rebirth, I mean, I don't know. It was pretty similar, really. I just liked the fact that sometimes I would look at my souls and have more than I thought I would normally have, and I could just throw out a volley. It felt good. In terms of kill times, everything felt very similar, but I'm pretty out of practice at both of these bosses, so my kill times fluctuate anyway, and I couldn't really say that, oh, I consistently get this kill time, and with this ring I got this one, or a slower one, or a faster one. I can't, because sometimes I'll do Zamorak at 100% and it'll take me 6.5 minutes because I'm terrible, and then sometimes I'll do it and it'll take me like a minute and a half less, and I'll get like pretty much my personal record here. So it really does vary, and I couldn't really tell much difference here, but that, again, it just comes down to the fact that I'm out of practice at these bosses. But at the same time, I feel like these bosses don't really offer as much insight as Rexi with the skip did, and Rasial did, for the fact that it's a smaller fight compared to like a drawn out fight like Vorkath or Kerapac in hard mode. So I actually feel like at this point, I kind of have the feel of how this ring performs for me. I will be using this as my new favorite necromancy ring for now, at least. And of course, if anything changes, like an upgrade here or there to anything that makes one of the rings better than the others, then of course I'll follow that through, and then probably make a video on talking about that too. But for now, I very much enjoy the playstyle of using this, getting the extra volleys out, having the fact that you use like Threads of Fade and volley, then you end up with 3 or 4 or 5 even souls back in return, and also having tons of souls just when you do your living death rotation without having to press soul sap at all. I feel like I've also kind of come to my point of this game where I couldn't really care less about kill times anymore. Maybe I'm just getting old, and maybe I've just accepted that I'm not going to be competing with the super high level kill times. It's not really something I'm going to do, especially since a lot of those kill times require you to use macros at this point of the game, which again, until Jagex actually says that they're okay, I'm just not going to use, because to me it's not worth the risk, seeing as my channel kind of relies on my account being not banned. I've kind of accepted that, you know what, this is a more enjoyable playstyle for me, maybe a slower here and there, but at the end of the day, I don't care. As long as I enjoy it more and it's very much similar and it's not like stupidly unoptimal, then I'm happy to do it. But anyway, while this is a random video that popped out of nowhere, I hope you did find it useful. I hope you enjoyed. Check out the Soul Ring, give it a go, see how you feel. Maybe even check out the Necrosis Ring and give that a go as well. You might enjoy that one more than the Soul Ring and more than Berserker Ring as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Other than that, I guess I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Have a good one. Bye.